From growing up as a scrappy kid in the rough Rosengård neighborhood of Malmö, Sweden, to becoming one of the most respected and iconic footballers the game has ever seen. This guy is a certified legend, and I don't just mean on the football pitch. I'm talking about an absolute whirlwind of a human being. So buckle up and get ready for a ride, because this is the real, unfiltered tale of Zlatan. The good, the bad, and the downright side-splitting hilarious. We're talking about a dude who is as infamous for his outrageous personality and hilarious quips as he is for his godlike skills on the pitch. Let's start from the beginning, shall we? Growing up in Rosengård in the 80s and 90s was no joke. We're talking about an area nicknamed the Ghetto of Malmö. It was rough, man. But did that faze our young Zlatan? No. From an early age, this kid was a total badass who refused to be intimidated by his tough surroundings. In fact, Zlatan has always credited those Rosengård streets for shaping him into the confident, mentally strong-willed kind of guy he is today. Can't you just picture the little dude striding around, staring down anyone who dared meet his gaze, probably dribbling a ball around too, showing up the older kids? That's our Zlatan for you. As he grew up, football quickly became Zlatan's one true passion and outlet. While other kids were out, doing whatever naughty things kids get up to, Zlatan was laser-focused on becoming the best footballer Rosengård had ever produced. He'd study the fancy skills of his idols like Ronaldo, then go practice them relentlessly until he had mastered every last feint and trick shot. Zlatan was so consumed by his love of the game that he'd recount having nightmares about not having any food at home as a kid, because being hungry meant he didn't have the energy to go train. So it's not surprising that by age 17, Zlatan's ridiculous talents had already marked him as Sweden's hottest young prospect. The dude was an absolute phenom, dominating at every youth level. Scouts were drooling all over Europe to land this cocky kid from the Malmö streets. Did Zlatan handle his rise to stardom with humility and grace? Of course not, don't be daft. This is Zlatan we're talking about here. Nope, he had the unshakable confidence of prime Muhammad Ali from day one. When asked about not getting picked for the national team at 15, Zlatan brazenly stated, "With me, they would have won the entire thing." Zlatan's attitude and unreal self-belief rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Teammates' parents wrote letters trying to get him kicked off his youth club because they couldn't stand his swagger. But you know what? Zlatan didn't care. He knew he was the one, and if you didn't like it, that was your problem, not his. You gotta respect the sheer gall of this kid. While other teenagers were being all angsty and insecure, Zlatan was out there living his best life, convinced he was God's gift to football. I can't stop laughing thinking about the horrified coaches dealing with this ridiculous talent, who also happened to be the cockiest SOB in all of Scandinavia. By 2001, Zlatan had parlayed his absurd skills and even more absurd arrogance into a pro career with Malmö. This is around the time the media outside of Sweden really started paying attention to this brash, egotistical phenomenon. And man, did Zlatan give them plenty to talk about right from the get-go. Need an example? How about his response when asked about getting a trial at Arsenal from Arsene Wenger himself? Most players would be pinching themselves at the chance, but not our Zlatan. Oh no, he scoffed at Wenger and said, "I don't do trials." No arrogance there, right? Zlatan quickly started bouncing around Europe's top clubs, always singing for big money thanks to his immense talent. Yet no matter where he went, he always made sure to leave his gigantic, Zlatan-shaped mark in the most ridiculous way possible. In Holland, he immediately started beefing with his teammate Rafael van der Vaart, because obviously Zlatan wasn't having some local hero outshine him. Stories emerged of the two nearly coming to blows in the locker room. When he moved to Juventus, Zlatan greeted the hard-nosed Italian veterans with his usual tact and humility. Players like Fabio Cannavaro and Gigi Buffon, stalwarts of the Italian national team, must have loved having this cocky Swedish punk rocking up telling them how it was going to be. You just know locker room fights were narrowly avoided on the regular. Wherever Zlatan went, he achieved success, but always with a healthy dose of chaos and controversy attached. Because, well, that's just how he rolls. When he joined Barcelona in 2009, Zlatan wasted no time in creating a beautiful disaster situation with Pep Guardiola, one of the most successful and respected managers in the game. To hear Zlatan tell it, Guardiola started giving him the cold shoulder for absolutely no reason just 6 months into his arrival. As usual, instead of being like, "Hey boss, what's up? Did I do something to offend you?" Zlatan just stewed and let the beef escalate to the point of no return. Eventually, Guardiola had frozen out Barcelona's $65 million man so badly that Zlatan had no choice but to leave after one tumultuous season. He literally joined his dream club, achieved success on the pitch, but nuked his relationship with the manager so completely that it all turned to ash. Only Zlatan, I swear. The man just cannot help himself from finding conflict and drama everywhere he goes. Is it because he's just wired that way? Or were all these endless beefs and controversies strategic attempts to cement his outsized personality into football lore? Who knows? But man, did it make for one hell of a ride as a fan. For all his ridiculous antics and controversies off the pitch, one thing Zlatan always brought with him was a winner's mindset. This dude lived and breathed the desire to be a champion more than anyone else I've ever witnessed. He imposed his iron will and extreme standards on every team he graced with his presence. Everywhere he went, he let it be known from day one that he expected complete buy-in from his teammates. If you didn't match Zlatan's effort and intensity in training or on the pitch, he simply didn't respect you. His mentality was, go home if you're not willing to bleed for the shirt. Zlatan would call out lazy teammates, ridicule them in plain view to light a fire. He was infamous for his insane training efforts. Would you expect anything less? This was a guy who admitted to having nightmares about missing training as a kid. At his core, Zlatan was a pure football machine. So you had better believe any team with Zlatan instantly got addicted to his brilliant leadership and champion's mentality. How else do you explain all of his success despite constantly butting heads with managers, fans, the media, you name it? Teams were simply willing to put up with his BS because he delivered the one thing that mattered most: trophies. Of course, no retrospective on the life of Zlatan would be complete without recounting his unforgettable stint in the Premier League with Manchester United. This was the one frontier that had previously eluded the legendary Swede in his globe-trotting club career. At age 35, with the vultures circling and many writing him off as too old, Zlatan decided to take his brash talents to Old Trafford and link up with his buddy Jose Mourinho. The situation was ready-made for him, and only he could have gone from a semi-pro like Major League Soccer MLS to the Premier League, when it has always been the other way around. People go to MLS for retirement, but not Zlatan. Could you imagine the scenes when Zlatan first rocked up to United's training ground? This bizarre, eccentric dude with the outlandish personality and weird ponytails striding in like he owned the place? Yet, true to form, Zlatan quickly put the entire squad on notice. In his very first training sessions, he was already barking at teammates, demanding intensity, imposing his deranged personal standards. No niceties or feeling out periods for Zlatan. It was full throttle from day one. The way he tells it, Zlatan basically arrived as Mourinho's on-field extension, kicking through and taking names to instill Mourinho's neurotic winner's mentality across the team. He would routinely stay late after training, hounding teammates until they matched his level. No wonder the United players fondly reminisce about their chill days being over once Ibra rolled into town. On the pitch, Zlatan was every bit as excellent as advertised in his debut season, bagging 28 goals across all competitions. More importantly, he played a vital role in United's EFL Cup and Europa League triumphs, instantly vindicating the mad decision to bring him to England's top flight at such a ripe age. Sadly, Zlatan's fairy tale stint with United was cut short in 2017 after a devastating knee injury. But not before he had cemented his legend and reputation for the ages amongst United's fabled fan base. Those poor United supporters must have whiplash from their year-long experience of Zlatan mania. Did you know that Zlatan is a Puskas winner? Of course you know that. And you also know for which goal. Every single fan knows that goal and wants to wipe it from their memories. I mean, who overhead volleys into the net from 35 yards out? Only Zlatan. No matter what continent he was on, Zlatan made sure to always keep us all entertained with his antics while delivering world-class performances between the lines. You've got to admire the man's hilarious commitment to his over-the-top persona at this point, right? As his late 30s arrived, many expected Zlatan to finally hang up his boots. But this is Ibra we're talking about here, folks. Instead, he penned one last blockbuster return to AC Milan in 2020, rejoining the Italia club at the ripe age of 38. Despite creaking knees and an ultra-veteran's body, Zlatan has remarkably maintained his efficacy up front, routinely terrifying Serie A defenses while spearheading Milan's recent resurgence. Watching the grizzled, grey-bearded assassin continue imposing his will into his 40s was pure comedy gold. There's a saying, football without fans is nothing. Well, we would say football without Zlatan is nothing. His aura will forever be there in the world of football.